Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha, welcome. It's good to have a Shabbat again, that day of rest. It's much needed, I know, for many of us. So exciting stuff today. We got Sister Miranda's presentation, The Season of Deception, Part 2. Going to be some mind-blowing stuff. I'm really excited about it, and yeah. So let's start this off with some prayer. And then after that, if you're here, Miranda, after that, feel free to take it away. By the way, Shabbat Shalom to all. So we got Sumi and Brandon, Kelly, Michael, Cheyenne, Natalie, John and Sophia, Jennifer. We got Anne, Heidi, Jacob. There's Brandon, Rebecca, Brother Kelly, Miranda, Silas, Shalom, little bro, Dwayne, Greg, Tabitha, Cassie, Deb, and Tracy. Good to see you all here. I'm sure more will be joining as we continue on. Oh, there's Kat. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm excited. Evan is there as well. Well, Shabbat Shalom, Evan, little bro. You say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, so I'll go ahead and say a prayer and we'll begin. Father Abba Yahuah, we come to you in prayer to ask for your blessings, your guidance, and your Ruach to be here as Miranda presents all the fascinating information that you have bestowed upon her. Help there to be eyes that open and ears to listen. Help this all to go well. I also want to pray a blessing of protection around our fellowship. I also want to pray for healing, for relief of stresses, burdens, whatever trials and tribulations we're going through. We all need your help, Father. We need your strength to be able to endure to the end. And I pray all these things to you in the name of Yahusha, HaMashiach. And if it is your will, let it be so. Amen. All right, so Miranda, whenever you are ready there, sister.
Can you guys see my PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Can you guys still see it?
Yes, there it is, full screen.
Full screen, okay. Miles, be on standby. I might need you again.
Thanks, Miles.
Natalie said thank you. All right, bye. Okay, guys, I am so sorry. My husband set up this little workstation for me, and he still went into work, but I was like, the last time I did this, we had Shabbat on Sunday. What if I need you? And he set everything up so great for me, and I was like, I know I'm going to need you. All right. So,
it's all good, sister. I will edit that part out. The whole
okay, right,
like 10 minutes of waiting.
Oh my goodness.
No.
I'm so sorry.
No worries. And click hide all on those notifications, and those notifications won't pop up on the screen there.
Click what? Hide?
Never mind. Mind.
I'm sorry. I don't want to get out of my groove. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. Those of you, I hope most of everybody saw part 1. These had to be broken up into parts just because there's so much to cover, and not enough slideshows to do it all in one. But the first one was going over the foundation of creation, or the foundation of Scripture, and understanding what Yahusha was there to teach and the fulfillment of those words that were to come to pass very soon. And so, because we always have to go to the foundation to get all of our understanding and to see through it from a different lens. And so this one was difficult because it's been months later, and I understand things a certain way, and I gather things from a lot of different studies that I watch, and I just have kind of like everything coming at me, and it's hard to actually organize it. And so it took a little while because I was like, I know what I want to cover, I just don't know how to go about it in an order that would make sense to everyone, like not just me. And so this is part 2. Bear with me for the first little half. You'll be like, why are we going over science or biology? And it's it's to get to the root. Out of all the studies that I've listened to, they're all great, by the way. Everyone goes into the timeline, the cathedrals, the mud floods, and everything, and those are all so great. But I wanted to really get to the root of it, because that is where everything starts. And so the origin, because this is a deception that is so deep that the whole world makes war with their creator. So let's get started. All right. I like memes, and this is not to make fun of anybody. If anything, this is all the questions that I've got, all the questions that I have, everything that's connected. You know, people don't understand why would they lie, and it's like this space of just like, oh, where do I start? Where does it end? It's very overwhelming, and to me it's do you have enough time to sit and have our conversation? Because it's that I put this meme up not to make fun of anybody, but it's kind of like my face when people don't understand why they would lie. They being the rulers of, you know, the government, religion, the corporations, the you know, the unions, just everything. And so this is the face I make, because there's, where do I start without being like this, without seeming like I'm like spazzing out, because it's all interconnected. But I'm gonna start here. Psalms 139:13 through 18. For you have possessed my core. You have covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and my soul knows it well. My bones are not hidden from you, though I was made in secret, fashioned beneath in the earth. Your eyes saw me when I was without form, for in your book were all things written, days fashioned at a time when there was still none of them. Oh dear, therefore, how dear, therefore, are your thoughts to me, O
Really,
Yah, how great is the sum of them. Yeah.
really quick, Miranda. There's still the Jim Carrey slide on the screen.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
Push stop sharing and then reshare again. That might help.
Um,
In Telegram, I mean.
in Telegram?
Yeah, so how you know how you were able to share your screen there? You should have an option to stop sharing, and then you can just reshare again.
Okay, did it stop sharing?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
The enemy likes
And
to
now it's
attack
not
these
giving
things.
me.
Oh, yeah. So you got to go back into the
Um,
thing again and click share screen. So at the top right corner, it might be there now.
oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. Let's try this again.
I'm good with Telegram. I'm not good with all the other stuff.
Right. Okay.
You're just learning how to become an expert. We have to practice things in order to learn it.
All right. Let's see.
I
Okay.
think because, yeah, so there was a thing originally that said to hide those notifications, but
Mm-hmm.
it's all good. They're not there
I
anymore.
guess I'll try to. Okay. Do you guys still see that?
The Jim Carrey, is it on
Yeah.
Jim Carrey? Yeah, we see it.
Okay. How about this?
Oh,
Do you guys see
yeah, we
this?
see it.
You
There it
see it?
goes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, to get things, to explain things, I try not to look like this picture. It's hard to explain to people how everything is connected without seeming crazy. Um, but I will just reread this psalm. Can you guys see the psalm?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I see it.
Ah, awesome. Great. Okay. For you have possessed my core, you have covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and my soul knows it well. My bones are not hidden from you, though I was made in secret, fashioned beneath in the earth. Your eyes saw me when I was without form, for in your book were all things written, days fashioned at a time when there was still none of them. How dear, therefore, are your thoughts to me, O Yah! How great is the sum of them! If I should count them, they are more than the sand. When I awake, I am still with you. So we've been taught that we are just this tiny little blip in a big galaxy. And yet Scripture constantly tells us how precious we are to Him, why He constantly begs for us to come back. And so to understand how it's possible that His creation that is as the sands of the sea is able to make war with Him, that means that they've been disconnected in who they understand Him to be. Their identity has been cut off from Him. That is like the core of how you are able to be in deception. Your identity is cut off from the one that created you, because we are extremely precious to Him. Can you guys see this one?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So in school, predictive programming, propaganda, a fixed mindset is what we were carefully constructed with. You know, don't think outside of the box. So we've got a fixed mindset from the very beginning. A growth mindset is leaving room for more to be added. Because if you're not constantly learning, then you're not growing. And so this is just one of the many perspectives that I like to try to keep an open mind. Again, within the confines of Scripture. And so let's try to be more like this, right? Because he says you have to be as little children, and little children have so many questions. They're so curious about everything, and that's how we need to be. We need to get back to a growth mindset, because we're never gonna come to a place where we know everything, but we can and are allowed to when we search, right? It's the glory of Yah to conceal a matter, and it is the glory of kings to search it out. I'm sorry, I think I'm getting that a little bit misconstrued, but um, okay. So this is a term that I've seen a lot. A lot. I watch a lot of videos, like I said, and this is one that is talked about all the time. The eyes are useless when the mind is blind. Okay, so it's not a, like, it doesn't mean that we're actually blind, but in seeing, we're not actually seeing, because the way that we've taught to perceive the reality around us has been altered so significantly. And so it has blinded the mind. And seeing isn't believing. Believing is seeing. This is a quote actually from one of my old favorite Christmas movies, nonetheless, the first Santa Claus, and a little bit of predictive programming again in that. But this little elf is telling the Tim Allen character in that movie that she said, because he was like, I see the polar bear, because he was in the North Pole, and he was like, but I don't believe it. And she goes, well, you're missing the point. She said, seeing isn't believing. Believing is seeing. Kids don't have to see this place to know that it's here. They just believe. And so if we were to take that same concept and use it for our true creator, how much more would we be able to see if our perception is on him? Okay, so government. It's derived from a Latin verb, governo, governmare, meaning to control, and the Latin noun maris, mentis, meaning mind. So it's to control the mind. Because again, in the system that we have been born into, we have been given truth and lie, truth and lie, truth and lie. We're filled with it, right? Unknowingly so. You know, he winks at a time of ignorance. And what we do is, after we've been given this construct that we're born into, we end up repeating the cycle that was taught to us. So we ourselves are also regurgitating half-truths unknowingly. Because essentially the battle is over our mind. And when we understand that we are very intricately made, and the mind is literally the battlefield. It's who's going to win. Is it going to be good, bad? Is it going to be light or darkness? Because these bodies that we're in right now don't go with us, but there is something that will go with us. He talks about it when he says, you know, don't fear man that can kill your body only, but fear Yah, who can kill both the body and the soul. And so to me, the soul is kind of like the root of like our character, what we've done in this life that we were given. And what are we going to choose to do with it? So our mind is programmable. So if we're not programming it, then someone else will do it for us. All right, the power of our brain. Your brain is not just an organ. It's not just a survival tool. It's not just a machine reacting to the world. Your brain is a super machine, a predictive engine that constantly builds your reality before you even notice it. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every belief you repeat, every image you hold in your mind is being translated into neural architecture. And architecture becomes your habits. Your habits become your identity. Your identity becomes your life. The hidden truth about our brain is neuroscience now confirms something ancient traditions whispered through for centuries. Your brain does not merely perceive reality, it constructs it. It filters 11 million bits of information per second and only shows you about 40. What determines what you see? Well, our beliefs, our emotion patterns, our past experiences, subconscious expectations, your internal narratives. So when you say life is hard, I always fail, I'm not good enough, then your super machine says, got it, let me prove that to you. And it will. You're not broken, you're under-programmed. Most people think something is wrong with them, that they lack discipline, they're lazy, they're unlucky, they're not built for success, but that's not true. You're not broken, you're running old code. This code installed by childhood conditioning, school systems, trauma, social programming, cultural narratives, and fear-based survival wiring, your brain learned how to keep you safe, not how to make you feel, and now it's waiting for new instructions. All right, so what kind of age were we planted into? Again, here we believe that we are in the little season, and what time that was released at, honestly, is still just up for grabs for guessing, because here we are trying to unravel it, and we're not going to get it all right the first time. But I'm not going to let the stigma of being scared of talking about this subject stop me from looking into it. If I had that mentality with everything else that we've done, we wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't know the truth I know about the calendar, other truths that I found in scripture that really have shaped my character differently just from the beginning of my walk until now. It's shaped how I've perceived scripture and truth, and the peace that I've gotten from it is nothing I've ever felt before. All right, so the first stages of life. In the developing embryo, the first structures to form are the nervous system and the heart. Shortly after conception, cells divide into 3 primary layers, with the first layer giving rise to the brain and spinal cord, and the cardiovascular system developing almost simultaneously to pump blood. The sequence of events unfolds during the first few weeks of pregnancy, the neural tube. This is one of the earliest structural developments. By weeks 3 to 4, a specialized structure called the neural plate forms and folds to create the neural tube, which eventually forms into the brain and spinal cord. All right. I debated putting this on here only because I think that again, everything that we've been taught to ignore has been inverted. So there's truth and there's false in it. Here on the left, this is going to be the false version of this, okay? This is the truth. So again, when we start out in the womb, I don't know if anybody's seen a video of the first signs of growth in the embryo, but it is the spinal cord being made first. And as I compared it to a seedling, this is what grows first. So you've got the carotid plexus, the superior cervical sympathetic ganglion, pharyngeal plexus, pulmonary, I'm really butchering this, sorry guys, plexus, cardiac plexus, sympathetic chain ganglion, splenic plexus, spinal cord, solar plexus, pelvic plexus, and congeal plexus. And so the inversion will be these. This is the inversion. This is the one that had to steal from the truth and invert it, in my opinion, to mislead. Okay? Now, what is interesting though about this is I looked into the root word chakra. All right, so New Age, or a term for explaining how light and energy flow systematically through the body. The term chakra comes from the ancient Sanskrit word kakra, which roughly translates to wheel or circle. It stems from the Proto-Indo-European root kulus, meaning cycle or circle. Metaphorical, it is used to describe theoretical swirling vortexes of energy within the subtle body. 1680s in anatomy, an interlacing of nerves, vessels, or fibers. Modern Latin, literally braid network. The noun used of past participle of Latin plectura, or to twine, braid, and fold, from the suffixed form of pi root plex, to plate. Original use in solar plexus, network of nerves in the abdomen. General sense of net-like arrangements of parts. So this is literally just a term to describe the spine that was formed in the womb, that connects the entire network of the nervous system to then the organs, tissue, you name it. So you can't have this chakra, these forces of energy. You can't have any of the tissue and the atoms and none of that without this. This is the stem. Roots are the most important underground part of the plant, which are collectively called the root system. They are the major part that anchors the plant firmly in the soil. They absorb water, minerals from the soil, synthesize plant growth regulators, and store reserved food material. Guys, we are nature. Yah made this entire realm right before he formed us. And a brother of mine, he said something beautiful, and I've never forgotten it, but he talks about how, isn't it interesting that in the first week of creation, Yah spoke everything into existence. And yet, by the sixth day, you know, he made the animals, but when he formed man, he didn't speak man into existence. He physically formed us with his hands from the clay of the ground. And so he held us in our hands. He could have spoke us into existence as well, but he wanted to take that extra time and build us up from the ground. So we are connected to everything that he made prior because we're from the ground. Here's an example of a seedling planted in a garden. And this is a neuron planted in our brain. Anytime we learn something new, a new neuron. All right, neuroplasticity. Every thought, feeling, or action we engage in triggers thousands of neurons that join together to form neural networks. Patterns of behavior that are repeated become automatic. Patterns of behavior that are interrupted dissipate. So again, the programming that we've been given, the narrative we've been giving, we repeat it and it becomes automatic. That's how cognitive dissonance is formed. It's hard to take in new information when the old patterns repeat, and that's biological. It's what our brain was programmed to do. And the adversary knew that. And so I do believe he used that to his advantage. Now, to his dismay, Yah always has a bigger plan. And that's where we are told to trust and believe in him. Anyways, the more we engage in a particular thought, feeling, or action, the more we strengthen the associated neural networks. The quicker the signals can be processed, until eventually signals can be processed almost instantly. So again, to me, it's the scripture that says, be changed with a renewing of your mind. He knew that we would be battling this. He knew the battle was in our mind, because our mind essentially becomes our will. Whatever it is that is driving us to that will, whether it be positive or negative. All right. Sister Marissa did a really good job in her fabric of creation. And I tell you what, inspiring stuff, because I feel like everything always goes back to the calendar. And it truly blows my mind. But here we have, so it's pronounced phi, and it has the Taurus encoded in the symbol. All right, this is the golden ratio. All right, this is the Greek symbol for it. And it looks like the toroidal field, that everything electromagnetically is run through it. And I can't help but look at this and think of the calendar. Think of Yah right in the middle, where he sets everything forth and where it comes back to him. And he is that dividing line. And that's the Taurus, and then it's the toroidal field. That's not only in this realm, but we as individuals emit ourselves, because we are also magnetic. We're electric magnet. I'm getting my words confused. Sorry, excuse me. And I found this picture, and again, I just can't help but see the calendar in it and some depictions of the toroidal field, because here Yah's in the middle. Here's the Jachin, here's the Boaz pillars, and here he is holding the times, the ages in balance. And he doesn't disturb them. He doesn't speed them up or delay them. He holds everything and measured in equal balance, because that is his nature. Okay, so how the body really works, the correct level of structural organization. First, you have to start off with informational level, the software, the energy and frequency, because this part is unseen. So electromagnetic communication of information. This, again, it has to start here. Then it turns into a chemical level, electromagnetic waves from the smallest matter, which form chemicals. Then the cellular level, chemicals that come together to form the cells. The tissue, the cells that come together to form it. Tissues that come together to form the organs. And the organ system level, as the organs come together to form the organ system. So this is the hardware, physical matter, the stuff that is seen. But it has to begin with the unseen. But you cannot have this without this. Okay, so higher frequency, it creates order and coherence, strengthens the immune system, ignites growth and repair, activates more DNA coding sites, lengthens telomeres. When we are at a frequency of love, this is how strong we admit that. Look how far that goes. And again, it brings me back to scripture, where he says, if you don't have love, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have love, it's for nothing. And here's fear. How many scriptures can you think of where he tells you to not fear? It's because it's a lower frequency. It creates disorder, discoherence. It lowers our immune function. It ignites stress and disease, and it activates less DNA coding sites and shortened telomeres. Here's another representation of that. Look how slow that is. And then love. It's so much quicker. so much better. So when we're in the frequency of love, just like two atoms that bond together to formulate a molecule, which share energy and information, when two people share the same emotion and energy and communicate the same thoughts and information, they become bonded together as well. In both cases, they are bound by an invisible field of energy that keeps them connected. If it takes energy to separate these two atoms, it's going to take energy and awareness to take our attention off of people and conditions in our life that we've given so much creative energy away to. So I think about what happened in 2020 with the pandemic, how they told us to stay 6 feet apart. I don't think that was a coincidence. We share our energy with the people that are around us. I've been able to walk into a room before and instantly be able to like catch on whether something was off or not. It is if you pay attention enough, we are meant to be able to tell that kind of stuff. All right. So I thought it was interesting with these two words how they sound very similar. So we've got the Torah, which is what we know as law, direction, instruction, direction, human or divine, of special law, and a code of laws. The Taurus, in spirituality and sacred geometry, the Taurus represents the infinite self-sustaining flow of energy. It symbolizes the connection between the inner self and the Creator, illustrating how energy circulates from a central source, expands outwards, and returns to its origin, Yahuah, in a continuous cycle. Excuse me. All right. Oh, we also know that there are laws of nature. We have, sorry, I'm trying to pull up a different screen. I have notes everywhere.
You mean like share a different screen?
No,
Oh,
just
okay.
notes on my tablet. So there's also other laws of nature, like the law of attraction and vibration, the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, the law of relativity, the law of cause and effect, reaping what you sow, the law of gender, oh my gosh, gender, right? Because there can only be two, male and female. And the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. Okay, so I also think of like the law of attraction, right? Why we're pulled to certain people. So life, no, it wasn't a jab at you. So life, everything, because we have one creator, everything has a law. Taurus, it's all a law of what he naturally instituted. Because we are also nature. Here is a fingerprint and a tree stump. Here's our lungs and the branches of a tree. So Proverbs 24, 3-4. By wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. Sorry about the sirens in the back, guys. I don't know if you heard that. All right, so here we have a beautiful old world home. And from the outside, we can see how gorgeous it is. But the blueprints fundamentally make up what you see here. Well, we're the same way. And to me, again, it's not. If I would have been taught this stuff in school, like we're taught about body parts and everything, but I mean like how intricately everything is connected. I think I would have enjoyed school a lot more if they were to explain it like this. Especially if we knew how to properly heal ourselves. All right, so we are going to go into etymology. So etymology is reasoning of the true meaning and sense of words via identifying their origins, denotative meanings, and various shades of meaning applied over time. It's a broad concept / topic that includes phonetics, analysis of sounds, of which words are comprised, morphology, the study of morphemes, the smallest hint of language that carries meaning. So think prefix, root, suffix, semantics. The meaning of words, particularly based on context. Also analyzing how meanings change over time. Grammar, how the words are supposed to be used. That's a big one. And transliteration, how the words change over time. Learn the true meaning of each word, the root and the original intent. Find the cousins to each word, say it, feel it. Which one will move you forward in your own life? Energy and vibration, it equals matter. Thought is energy, seeing is energy, talking is vibration, speaking is vibration. Thoughts and voice will equal our reality. All right. Again, another dear brother of mine, the same one that was talking to me about, spoken creation versus a forming. He goes into legalese a little bit, and he was talking to me about how when you're in court and they're giving you some kind of plea or whatever it is you're in there for, and the judge will ask you, do you understand? Well, these two words don't necessarily mean the same thing, and yet they're connected together. So let me give you an example. So also sometimes literal to occupy space at a lower level, late 14th century, and figuratively to submit for stand under in a physical sense. So to understand is to stand under and to submit. All right, this is the etymology of this word. But to comprehend, mid 14th century, they say to understand, but it's also to take into mind and grasp by understanding, or to take in, include. From Latin comprehender, to take together, to unite, include, seize. Also to comprehend, perceive. From com, with, together, completely, to catch hold of and seize. Here's another example of us not really understanding words, because over here we have left to right. So if we look at Israel, the false etymology is Ra is God? No, because we have to read it from right to left, not left to right. So Yisrael is going to be upright to L. And do you see how we think it sounds the same, but it's not, because we have to get to the root and read it right. All right, Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the confidence of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. All right, talking about of evidence of evidence of things not seen. We know, and we've been taught, that there are four basic elements, primary elements, sorry. And it's interesting because in the 1900s, the ether was taken out of the periodic table of the main elements. When you go into the etymology of ether, it says in the late 14th century, upper regions of space, from Old French, ether, directly from Latin, aether, the upper, pure, bright air, sky or firmament, from Greek aether, upper air, bright, purer air, the sky, opposed to air, the lower air, to burn and shine. So it says see edifice. This is part of the edifice. It's a building structure from the Latin edificum. Sorry, I'm really butchering that. Building, but it means building. To erect a building, a temple, a sanctuary, usually a single edifice without partitions, also in the plural, dwelling house and building. Originally a place with a hearth, the second element is combining form of fierce, to make and to do. So what's interesting about the ether is basically it's describing the medium of space. Okay, so science, when they killed the ether from the periodic table, they did bring it back, but it's something different that they called it. And I guess it's called like the Higgs field, or we would probably know it as what they would refer to as now dark energy. So isn't that interesting? It's supposed to be the medium of space. So think of everything that holds the air, the fire, the water, the earth together. It's supposed to hold, it's that space. And yet they're saying it's dark energy. Because it's the canvas upon which the 3D world is painted, and without this fifth dimension, substrate matter would not, it wouldn't be there. There would be no mass. All right, they also tell us that we only have 5 senses. Well, what about our soul, our conscience, our mind, the psyche, or what some would refer to as our intuition? In English, it is attested from the late 14th century as divine substance, divine mind, God or Christ, or his divine nature, also the Holy Ghost, divine power, also by late 14th century as the soul as the seat of the morality in a man, and the extension of divine power to man, inspiration, charismatic state, charismatic power, especially in reference to prophecy. It also is attested from mid-century in English as character disposition, the way of thinking and feeling, the state of mind, source of a human desire. In Middle English, freedom of spirit meant freedom of choice. It is attested from the 1850s in the metaphoric sense of animation, vitality, and by the 1600s as a frame of mind with which something is done, also mettle, vigor of mind, or courage. The meaning characterized by psychic gifts pertaining to the class of extraordinary or obscure phenomena of the mind is not usually treated by psychologists. Mind reading, second sight is attested from 1871. So everything Yahusha did when he was here to prepare his disciples for what was to come, he healed and he kept pointing people back to connecting the spirit with the body. So for example, he said that if you were to look upon a woman and lust with, with your eyes, that you've already committed adultery in your heart. Because when we think it in our head enough, our will comes out and then we physically act upon it. So again, it begins in the mind. And he kept connecting the physical back, or sorry, the spiritual back with the physical, because the two have to work together. And so the pineal gland, is this an antenna to speak with Yah? Is it a place that our soul resides? Where, I don't have all the answers to these questions, but I think it's important enough to just have a question about it. And I do believe that this is how we connect with Yah. This pineal gland sits right smack dab in the middle of the two hemispheres of the brain, right in the middle. It's a small endocrine gland present in the brain. It's called epiphysis cerebri. It's located between the two cerebral hemispheres. It's attached to the roof of the third ventricle, which that's interesting, considering that the place where Yah dwells is in the third part of the north. This is in the third ventricle. It's pinecone shaped in structure. Melatonin is the main hormone secreted. It's derived from tryptophan. Sorry, I'm really butchering this. But so what's interesting about the pineal gland, and I don't know if anybody knows this, but it's actually really good for us to go outside in the morning as the sun is rising. Not only because of the colors that are emitted, which are just absolutely gorgeous. I love sunrises and sunsets. But when we look at the sun rising, that light spectrum is hitting us right here in our pineal gland, okay? And this does control serotonin levels in our body. It activates it. Serotonin is what wakes up everything. And what happens as the sun goes down, those serotonin levels will turn into melatonin. So this is literally our circadian rhythm, our sleep and wake cycle. And this is extremely important for us, which is why blue light is so toxic for us to be looking at for too long, because it's a synthetic light. And because our eyes take in light and it literally has to do with our circadian rhythm, if we're constantly keeping it on, this isn't properly producing the serotonin, which turns into melatonin. And then if you're taking synthetic melatonin, it again, it still messes up. And then you've got people that have sleep issues, and boy, there's a lot of people that have sleep issues. It's not a coincidence to me that this is also another, it's another target that gets calcified. We do have to ask these questions. If this wasn't important, if this is just a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo voodoo that we're told not to worry about, or that we're told is New Age, why do they poison us with things that slow this function down? Why do they put fluoride in our water? Fluoride was never meant to go in our bodies. They say it helps us with our teeth. I say, absolutely not. Look how close our mouth is to our pineal gland. And it was too much to put in this presentation, but if anybody has ever looked into the nerves that are also attached with our teeth, it's crazy how everything is connected. I mean, obviously this is the head, so everything is connected, but think about how much fluoride. I stopped when my kids just see the dentist. They kind of got big teeth for such little mouths. It's hereditary. But I stopped fluoride cleanings about 2 years ago when I really found out what it does. It also really prohibits learning in kids. Um, it's poisoning our children. It really is. It poisons us too. So if you're brushing your teeth, which hopefully you are, use non-fluoridated toothpaste and try to get hydroxyapatite or apatate. My mom makes fun of me because I never say it correctly. It remineralizes your teeth and it keeps that fluoride from hopefully getting in here. All right. All right. So doctor versus healer. I went to the root word, to the etymology of these words as well. Again, the truth and counterfeit. Word forming element from Latinized form Greek, ikatreos, healing, physician healer, treat medically, heal, of uncertain origin, perhaps from enomai, to cure, heat, warm, cheer, probably from root meaning enliven or animate. So this is the root word for healer. In the 1950s, to confer the degree of doctor on, form doctor, meaning to treat as a doctor administered medical treatment to is from 1712, sense of alter, disguise for the purpose of deception. This is what doctor means. To alter, disguise for the purpose of deception, to falsify. The doctored for doctoring. Pharmakia. Doctors don't go to college and learn about any of this. They go and are taught how to administer medications. They're not taught to get to the root cause. They're taught to push pharmakia. In 1910, Rockefeller reshapes the medical schooling. This is the king of pharmakia, at least in the 19th century. I believe a lot of this came about too before the flood, but that's another subject. 1920, natural cures labeled quackery. So people stopped looking to nature to heal their ailments. In 1950, Big Pharma becomes the standard. And today we have the sickest generation in history with the shortest lifespans, with the most cancers, most diseases. All right. So the reason for all of that, I apologize if that seemed boring. I just wanted to get to the root of when we are disconnected from everything that makes us us, and we don't understand the proper tools to use, then that leaves us out in the open to accept whatever's roaming. And so we have to be able to form our identity in something. And for a while, that identity was the wrong one. So the reason for the cathedrals, in my opinion, that these were healing stations, okay, during the millennial reign. I do believe that these were built because, again, look back when Yahusha was with his disciples. He was healing. He was connecting the spirit back with the body and how they needed to work with each other, how to properly apply it. But he did a lot of healing too, because it's harder to comprehend something if you're sick. If you're sick, you're delayed. It's hard to retain anything. We believe that the millennial reign was peaceful, unless you didn't agree to go along with his rod of iron ruling. But this was a time of rest, essentially, from the adversary. It was a time of healing. And I don't know about you guys, but when I'm feeling great, I can retain so much. I feel light. I feel like I could take on the world. But when I'm sick, oh, good luck trying to have a conversation with me. So sickness prohibits us from a lot of things. And if we're sick, we're also easier to control. All right, so the etymology of the word cathedral. Cathode. A cathode is an electrode through which electrical currents flow out of a polarized electrical device. Depending on context, it is closely related to these direct synonyms and terms. So electrode, the broader term for a conductor used to establish contact with a non-metallic part of a circuit. We have a negative terminal, negative pole, frequently used as a synonym in electrical devices, electron tubes, and discharging batteries. So you can't have negative without a positive, or a negative pole without a positive pole. And this refers to specifically the cathode in volcanic galvanic cells and charging batteries. And this is just an older or alternate spelling to use for that. So again, we emanate energy. And these places were put to heal us. They are conductors. These things are massive. And there are some that think that these could be pre-flood. The only thing I have to say is look at the Grand Canyon. And do you think these could have survived if the Grand Canyon looks the way it does? Where's the erosion on these buildings if these were made before the flood? That doesn't seem logical to me. The spires, I think is what they're called. If anybody has watched Lost History of the Flat Earth, he talks about these and he thinks that these gathered electricity from the ether. And I think he's right. All right. So not only, right, were those things massive, and the name in itself means energy, or to conduct from negative to positive and back, but these places also held bells. So a bell doesn't sound with a single note. It emits a whole range of notes governed by the shape and size. They decided to stop the frequency service of the service of the bells that they would provide. The window, sorry, hold on one second. Whew, I gotta take a drink. The windows on the front represent the frequency it would provide. Technically, these weren't churches. They were meant as places of healing. The name church came from Catholic and Christian overrule. If you look deep into this, as I have, you will find the certain frequency the bells made were the exact design the window displayed. So for instance, if you go into this healing center, you would feel better, or your body would receive a frequency of that bell. And these came in many, many shapes and sizes. These things were massive. Look how many people can fit under this. Sorry, it looks a little wide. It was a very tiny picture, and I just wanted to enlarge it a little bit. All right, so here's a bell that was purposely cut through. To me, if this was an accident, there would be many scrapes and other chips and whatever, but this is very precise, which means that they wanted to stop the frequency of what this bell would emit. So they cut into it. And I believe it's World War II. It says that they got these bells so that they could be melted down and used as ammunition. I don't really agree with that narrative because they're liars. Here's another one, just purposely chopped. Look at this graveyard of bells. Yeah, I agree. I don't believe this was the right metal for ammunition either. Actually, now that I think about it more, wouldn't like how much energy would it take to gather all of these bells, to melt them down and make ammunition in the midst of war versus just making them? It just doesn't make sense to me. The bells were everywhere. That's a lot of effort for that. But here's an example of what these bells frequency would emit in the windows. So there was a guy who did a test by ringing a bell, and he had the bell near some water, and the frequency that was emitted into that water that came from the bell would make this shape. Now, the technology that would make this shape in the window, I have no idea. But it's not a coincidence that with water, it would make the same exact shape. Here's another window. Guys, I probably could have put like 100 more pictures of how amazing these windows were. All the different shapes they made. If you think of a snowflake, all right, no snowflake looks exactly the same, and none of these windows look exactly the same either. All right, we're gonna get into organs now, because if bells weren't enough, these cathedrals also had organs. So the word organ traces back to the ancient Greek organo, which kind of sounds like oregano, but meaning a tool, implement, or instrument, rooted in the Proto-Indo-European werg, to work or do. Its semantic shift explains why it's used for both musical instruments and bodily parts. Bodily organs, deriving directly from the medieval Latin organum, the word was extended in the 14th century to biological structures because organs act as tools of the body, designed to perform specific specialized functions. The Greek sense of implement made it a perfect fit for anatomy. Also attested from earlier 15th century as a tool, an instrument, the broad etymological sense of that which performs some function is attested in English from the 1540s. It is by 1788 as a medium and instrument of communication. So again, these organs that were in these healing stations that coincidentally enough have the same name for the parts and organs in our body that do the same thing and work as tools to perform specific specialized functions. It's not a coincidence. Because here we are. Here's all of our organs. Everything our organs do. The cardiovascular system, the digestive system, endocrine system, immune lymphatic system. the intergumentarial system, sorry, which is just human skin and hair and nails, the muscular system, the nervous system, the reproductive system, the respiratory system, skeletal system, and your urinary system. These things are massive and intentional. I can't think of somebody being like, yeah, I think I want to build this really big, gigantic thing just for looks. No. Again, the different sizes, which would be different tones, pitches, notes. It's so intricate. It's so detailed. There was whoever built these knew what they were doing, and they cared enough to even implement beautiful designs on it. This one looks a little more modern, but still beautiful and still very big. And here's some more. And again, guys, these are just some of the many that are in all of these cathedrals. Like, look at, I don't know, the creativity behind it as well as the functionality in it. It's a little overwhelming. And there's that beautiful window with some of this sorry, I need to turn that off again. Yeah, with some of the cymatics. And if that wasn't enough, guys, with the bells and the organs, we also have the light spectrum that also gives off a frequency. No coincidence that these are the colors of the rainbow and that there are 7. Because these colors are also within these cathedral windows. All of this spectrum of light. Because light frequencies also heal the body. So imagine laying there and listening to the bells or the organs while also being healed by the light that's coming through these windows. Multiple layers of healing just coming from one place. This is a panoramic view that someone took of the inside of a cathedral, and it's just, my gosh. I would rather be here than in a LED hospital lit place. I could lay here for hours. The light spectrum is so pretty. This one's probably my favorite. All right, so this is called chromiotherapy. I'm sorry if some of you guys can't see this. I know it's really small. I tried to make it bigger, but I couldn't, and I had to be careful about how many slides I had. So I'll just read it to you. Chromiotherapy It is the science of using colors to adjust body vibrations to frequencies that result in health and harmony. Humans need the sun's light, which is broken into 7 distinct rays, to live. If there is an imbalance in these colors within our body, it can manifest itself in mental or physical distress. Each color possesses frequencies of a specific vibration. Each vibration is related to different physical symptoms. Chromiotherapy works on various energy points to help your body reestablish its natural balance. It accomplishes this via the full spectrum of visible light, each color of which addresses a separate bodily need. So red activates the circulatory and nervous systems. Strong pink acts as a cleanser, strengthening the veins and arteries. Pink activates and eliminates impurities from the bloodstream. Orange energizes and eliminates localized fat and helps address asthma and bronchitis. Strong yellow strengthens the body and acts as internal tissues. Yellow reactivates and purifies the skin and helps with indigestion and bodily stress. Green acts as a relaxant. Strong green provides anti-infectious, antiseptic, and regenerative stimulation. Strong blue lubricates joints, helps address infections, stress, and nervous tension. Blue stimulates muscles, skin cells, nerves, and circulatory system. Indigo helps address eye inflammation, cataracts, glaucoma, and ocular fatigue. Violet regulates the nerves and lymphatic system, addresses inflammation and urinary illness. So again, these colors address different things in the body as well. So if it wasn't enough for the organs, the bells, you also had light coming in and doing that as well. And is it a coincidence that all of these things are within a cathedral that acts as a cathode for positive and negative polarity that essentially helps us? I don't think so. And if that's not enough, we know that all of these foods and the various colors that they are also medicine for us as well. Not to mention, obviously, the biblical clean way to eat. And, you know, if we think about it, this is another example of the counterfeit, because our food system is attacked as well. We have synthetic dyes that are in our food, which is so unnecessary. Why do you have to put dye in everything? It doesn't make it taste any better or any different. But it does, synthetic dye does affect the brain. It affects moods, anger. When I started taking dye out of my kids' diet, I noticed significant change. Now, it is hard to completely take out, so we try to ingest it not very often, or if at all. But there's a lot of foods that resemble our organs, like walnuts look like the brain, and they're actually really good brain food. Beets, pomegranates, and garlic really help with blood. Carrots help with the eyes. Sweet potatoes, kale, intestines, aloe vera, cucumber, green apple, kidneys, cranberry, celery, cucumber, liver, beets, lemon, turmeric, lungs, pineapple, ginger, garlic. These are all superfoods, and it's everything that's naturally derived from the earth. And again, the point of all of this is we stopped mirroring our Creator, what He created. We've been kind of glitched, essentially, because on earth as it is in heaven has also been inverted to as above, so below. But we never really understood that either, because the occult took that and made it seem bad. But again, when we reconnect the spiritual with the physical and apply both, because right now we are in the physical and spiritual realm, both need to be applied. So then that introduces us to the occult of heliocentrism. Geocentrism was universally held in some form among every culture for the first 5,500 years of human history. I really don't think back in Yahusha's time they believed that we lived on a spinning ball. In 1543, which is a very skeptical time frame, in my opinion, those of you that have heard that I've started reading a little bit of the hagiographies, which are just the accounts of saints. This is right around the time, apparently, of Hasatan's releasing. And so when we go into, sorry, I'm pulling up my notes again. So when we go into deception, there are levels of it that he has to achieve. And the first one would be separation. So again, he's separating our view of what Yah established for us in creation. And he's kind of severing that with this. Because in 1543, Roman Catholic astronomer Nicholas Copernicus broke the history, science, and Christianity to put forth his theory of heliocentrism. In the 1600s, Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe used observations to validate the polemic system of geocentrism, that everything in the heavens revolve around Earth, not the sun. In 1601, Johannes Kepler, Brahe's assistant, who was strongly influenced by Roman Catholic Jesuits, is suspected of murdering Brahe, stealing his life's work, and claiming that his research actually supported heliocentrism instead of geocentrism. In 1609, Galileo came to the defense of Kepler with the support of the Jesuits and claimed to have used his telescope to have corroborated the heliocentric model. And from 1600 to present, Jesuits and secret societies have consistently advanced the theory of heliocentrism to advance their larger agenda of Illuminism and the coming religion of Mystery Babylon. So, again, separating us from the true order and presenting a false one. I don't let religious people influence my beliefs, and yet all of these beliefs, the ball earth theory, the changing of calendars, evolution, Big Bang, they all came from Jesuit priests. And this is what they tell us. This is what is widely accepted all over the world, the whole world, that we are here and everything else. I mean, what a way to just break us down and make us feel so insignificant. It definitely doesn't match what you read in Genesis, which then puts doubt in people's minds about how credible the scriptures are. Because going off of Marissa's fabric of creation, This is Yah's true design. So beautiful, and yet it's in perfect harmony. This is life. Yeah, this is Fibonacci, the golden ratio. And this is essentially the calendar, right? The Gregorian calendar. There's never any break. It just goes on and on and on and on, and it doesn't make any sense. And it confuses our understanding of time. It absolutely makes my eyes go cross thinking about it. But this is another representation of the natural order. Yah here on the right, and the unnatural order that the whole world believes. Just a vicious cycle. So this is the what is this called? The Ouroboros, I think. Yes, the Ouroboros. And the motto for that is that it's a representation of life, death, and rebirth. And yet that's not the representation that Yah gives. He wants us to change so that we can start to reflect his character. And there's no such thing as rebirth. We are resurrected once, either to eternal life or to the second death. But there is no rebirth. There is none of this. This is just a construct that was made to keep us in a vicious cycle of listening to the ones in charge. Because he feeds our ego. He wants the loop to continue. He wants it to repeat over and over again. And to a lot of us, that feels comfortable and safe because we don't know any different. And it's all we know. But if we look at Yah's nature, he's never changed. Nature goes on with the same fingerprint of Yah that he spoke into existence. And it's us that have been disconnected from that. Because I don't know about you guys, but even with understanding of biblical cosmology, when I sometimes try to think of a country or whatever, I still picture this ridiculous marble ball, which has to be CGI animated in their studio when they claim that they've been here and they could have just taken a picture. Versus what he said he established. And they even tell you in predictive programming that this is a scam. Scam. And I believe this is Sesame Street, and they have the globe and the rocket in the fiction area of the books. And then let's talk about how he deceives the whole nations. Because Roman Catholicism, as you guys saw in, 1542, is they came up with the heliocentric model from the Jesuit. So whenever Hasatan's release was, the first thing he did was to invert. And Catholicism means universal. So they're the main part of the tree of all Christianity. Protestants like to say that they're not Catholic, but yet they do follow the Gregorian system that the Catholics did set up. They're just branches off of the main tree, and then it branches off again. And there's approximately 45,000 globally. That's a crazy number. And all of these, if they have one thing in common, is not one of these teach that the millennial reign already happened. Not one. They all believe that the second coming is what is to be expected next. So not only did he infiltrate all of the other banes of society, but he did with organized religion as well. That's how you deceive people that think that they believe, because they all have the same narrative. I guess minus the Jews. They still don't even believe that Yahusha came the first time. But they didn't recognize him the first time. They definitely aren't going to recognize him the second, or even being unveiled for the third. And Catholicism is known for their book burning. They like to hold the key of knowledge. That's why they have 52 miles worth of catacombs there in the Vatican. And these are just some of the few, but these are about the main ones that control society as we know it. United Nations is a big, big one, but they get their orders from the Jesuit order, the Vatican. See how they have the keys and the crown? They control every aspect of this reality that we have been perceiving for a long time. And they make treaties to stop us from going to the outer wall. All these countries that claim that they are not in agreement with each other, that they're at war constantly and whatever, but yet they can gather and be cordial to keep us from exploring Antarctica. These nations that surround the Arctic Ocean and North Pole, these countries also have an agreement that we can't go there. They say it's to protect wildlife. But yeah, I just showed you all the ways that they are poisoning us and teaching us wrong with our health, but yet they're protecting us by not allowing us to go here. So you tell me if they really care about us enough to not want us to go here and freeze to death. But they'll kill us internally. No problem. So this is kind of just me thinking out loud. But these are all the logos for the space agencies. And there's more, but these are just some of the major ones. But they all do have this arrow. And I do believe this is like the tongue of the snake, right? Because NASA does mean to deceive. But it still kind of looks like an arrow too to me. And then I was thinking, they're all so worried about us not having access to the north, and every compass that we see has that same the same arrow, and they explore space. It's not the upper space, because we know that rocket that they shoot up curves when it gets to a certain height. So it's not that they're exploring, but could they be exploring the northern space? I don't know. And then I started looking into old compasses, which the compass, let me get my notes again. The compass was invented with magnetized needles in the 11th century. And they were carving idosone into the south pointing fish and floating it in the water. So they were finding it, the level mark, and the magnetic pointer would go north. So they would understand their direction of where they were. Excuse me, sorry. But with all these old compasses, by the way, sorry, they called this the like the age of exploration too. This is when apparently the age of exploration was really starting to take wind. If these were made, let's say during the millennial reign, to get people to come for the Feast of Tabernacles, they would definitely need something to help them get there. And in all these old compasses, this symbol right here is the one that always indicates only true north. Right there on that 0. I don't know what this is. I do know that there is a lot of this in a lot of the elites stuff too, but I can't help that it's only the one that's pointing magnetic north. And it's in a lot of them. Just a few of the examples. Okay, we're getting toward the tail end, and I wanted to let you guys know that I do have to do a part 3. As I was doing this, again, just getting overwhelmed by how much information. It can be a lot. But to kind of give you a sneak peek of what I'd like to do in part 3, because I really wanted to show you to the root level of what they've done to disconnect us from our true designer. And when they can do that, then they can implement everything else. And that is how we are able to be deceived at the level that we are at today. And so part 3, I would like to go over the timeline. To be honest with you, I still a little intimidated by it. It's really hard because they've inverted it so much. But I've listened to enough studies, and I plan on doing a lot more studying, and I really do want to go into the timeline. They're very, it's very apparent it's been messed with. But let's see. Okay. As I was watching a study, his name is Brian. He has a channel called Demon Hunters. And he was on a talk show with this guy, and he was talking about this bearded vulture. Now, I'd never heard of a bearded vulture. And oh, I got chills when he started talking about this. And I was like, I mean, it's a good theory. And it's one that makes a lot of sense. So this guy is the only kind of his species. Like, obviously, he's still a vulture. And so he's like a cousin. But he's the only one of his species. So what's special about is this is the only living bird species that specializes in feeding on bones, just bones, not carcasses, but bones. And their diet is like 75 to 90% bone. They like to eat the bone when it's still fresh, so when it still does have marrow inside of it, it gives them the most nutrients. And only their chicks eat meat. And what's interesting about these birds is they will carry the bones to the height of 160 to 490 feet in the air and drop them on rock cliffs to break the bones that they can't consume whole. Their stomachs have a very strong acidity to it that breaks down these bones in less than 24 hours. And its old name is osprich, and it means bone breaker. Okay? And what's interesting about this is in Ezekiel, oh, here's another picture of this guy. It's a massive bird, by the way. If you guys ever do or are curious to look this up, these birds are humongous. Okay, so in Ezekiel 39, I'm just going to read it. And I will strike your bow from out of your left hand and will cause your arrows to fall out of your right. You shall fall upon the mountains of Israel and all of your bands and the people who are with you, and I will give you to the birds, to every feathered fowl and beast of the field to be devoured. You shall fall upon the open field, for I have spoken it, says Yahuah, and I will send fire on Magog and among those who dwell in safety of the isles, and they shall know that I am Yahuah. So I will make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not allow them to pollute my holy name any more. And the heathen shall know that I am El, the Holy One of Israel. Behold, it is come, and it is done, says Yah. And this is the day which I have spoken. All those who dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth and shall burn and set fire to the weapons and on the shields and bucklers, upon the bows and upon the arrows and upon the rods in their hands and upon the spears, and they shall burn them with fire for 7 years. So that they shall bring no wood out of the field or cut down any out of the forest, for they shall burn the weapons with fire, and they shall rob those who robbed them and plunder those who plundered them, saith Yahuah. At the same time I will give Gog a place there in Israel for burial, the valley by which men go toward the eastern part of the sea, and shall cause those who pass by to hold their noses, and they shall bury Gog there with his multitude, and they shall call it the valley of Ham and Gog. And for 7 months shall the house of Israel bury them, so that they may cleanse the land. Yea, all the people of the land shall bury them, and they shall have a name when I shall be glorified, saith Yahuah. And they shall choose men and go continually through the land with those who work to bury those who remain upon the ground to cleanse it. They shall search until the end of 7 months. And the travelers who pass through the land, if anyone sees a man's bone, he shall set it up a sign by it until the buriers have buried it in the valley of Ham and Gog. And also the name of the city shall be Hamanah. Thus shall they cleanse the land. So, with that, again, this is just me trying to put pieces together. Okay, so when I told you about the bearded vulture that takes up the carcasses or the pile of bones to smash it up against rock sides, the only 2 bones in the human body that is very hard to break are femurs and skulls. And femurs are long, so the bird would not be able to eat these because of how long it is. or break it apart, and skulls are too wide. And again, these are really, really hard to break. And I just showed you scripture that talks about how there, I believe, at the beginning of the millennial reign, they were required to pick these bones up and to place them somewhere so that they could cleanse the area. They were tasked to do this. So anything that the birds didn't eat got placed and put somewhere. And to me, it's interesting that all I see here are femurs and skulls. I don't see any rib cages. I don't see any spines. All I see is femurs and skulls. So is this the only bones that were left to pick up that these birds were not capable of eating? I mean, look how they're stacked. Those are all femurs, all skulls. And is it a coincidence that pirates were given this, you know, skull and bones, 2 femurs and a skull, 2 femurs and a skull? I don't know. So, at the end of all of this, guys, we are called to holiness and not safety. He told us that we would go through hardship, we would be deceived, but through it all, we were told not to be afraid. We were told to have love. We were told to endure. And we were told to be a light. We were told to expose darkness. And this is our job, even in this season. Nothing has changed. Our job is still the same. Holiness is the end of our calling. Because again, we take our characters with us. The outside of the body doesn't matter. What we do with those that have been in our paths, who we've guided to him, what, the talents that he gave us, did we bury it or did we multiply it? Because when we give back to him, hopefully our hands aren't empty-handed. Hopefully we're able to multiply what he has given us. And there are people that have big jobs and people that have small ones. He gives everyone according to what they're able to do. Jermaine has, made jokes before about being the hair on the on the toe. I believe that my part in this body is the little toe, the one that gets stubbed a lot. It's not to like be down on myself about, but I am a very small ripple in the very, very big ripple of what this is supposed to look like. And somebody has to start the ripple. This is why I talk about it. It's not to make anybody mad. It's not to, it's definitely not for praise, because I don't, this is very controversial. I get uncomfortable when people get so upset about it, but I'm not going to be quiet either, because this was prophesied about. It's a point in the timeline. We need to know. He talked about it. It's important on some level, or else he wouldn't have mentioned it. He's not a Yah of confusion. He's a Yah of order. And this is a point in time that is going to happen, if it's not already happening now. So, like I said, my job, and everyone who's talking about it right now has dipped their finger and started the ripple effect, because we are these small ripples, right? We're the ones that started it, but it is gaining traction. And so there's going to be someone else who has a much more important job later on that'll hear about this, whether they're a politician, whether they're a president, whether they're some kind of big leader. Maybe they're a translator of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Maybe they're on the other side and they have access to the catacombs. Wherever these people are placed, and Yah impresses their heart with truth, and it speaks to them, and they hear about this, then they have a really big job too. And they got put in a position of really big responsibility. But word of mouth is very important. And we can't be discouraged from asking questions. It's what helps us find answers. And this is my last meme and my last slide, because amongst all this, we still need to be skeptical, because we are surrounded by lies, and all of our governing body of people that are in charge of everything, they are liars, and we need to stop listening to them. We need to stop being so accepting of everything that they say, and kind of put this face on when they say stuff, and do our job and not take their word at face value, because they want us to take their word at face value. We need to look into the root of what it is that they're telling us to only see the face of. That has been, I think, the biggest design flaw in us, is that we've just accepted, and now we're realizing these people don't live by the same rules that they put us in, and they've gained a lot of power because of it. Now it's okay, because Yah says that the new world will be inherited by the meek and the humble. But we are still called to be as wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So we do still have power. We do still hold power because of the one that created us. We were called to be dominions over this realm, right? We were given dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over the plants. Everything was supposed to be in our dominion. And yeah, here we are. But like I said, part 3, I really want to go into the timelines a little more. But I just really wanted to get down to the root of what fundamentally made us by looking at the natural design that Yah had put in place within us. And that is all.
Awesome. Amazing job, Miranda. Thank you.
Wonderful job, Miranda.
Thank you. How do I stop screen sharing?
The 3
Man,
dots.
job,
that was
sweetheart.
awesome,
That was really
Miranda.
good, honey. I love
Thank you
you.
guys.
Good job,
There's a lot of
sweetheart.
information.
I
Thank you
know.
for
I'm
sending
sorry,
the other
guys.
book.
I tried to consolidate it as much as possible. When, when I knew I had to do part 2, I mean, I was stressing so bad. It's so much, it's so overwhelming. But if this doesn't prove that the lies are so easily, you can grab at it like think of it like a synthetic sweater that's supposed to be a representation of pure cashmere. The synthetic version will start to fall apart at the seams, and it's not going to have the same pure fabric as real cashmere. And when we look at it like that, and you start pulling at it, and it just starts unraveling because lies just disintegrate. And truth is what's firm. Truth isn't afraid of being looked at. It's actually begging to be looked at. And when the enemy tells you not to question, it's because a falsehood doesn't want to be questioned. It just wants to be obeyed. So I know it was a lot of information, and I am sorry.
No, it was amazing, sister. Thank you. Don't forget, actually, there's 2 videos that go along with that.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. I don't know how you talk. every Shabbat, my voice, it's raw.
Yeah, no, that now you know how I feel. No, that's how it is. But all praise to the Most High Yahuah. Where can I find those videos? Wait, which videos?
The last 2 that I sent you on Messenger.
Oh, no, sorry. Someone asked that in chat. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
So here, this is what happened to the link. Hold on. Here, I'm going to get this link in a moment. For some reason, it like copied and pasted something in there. I don't want to press enter. So let me play this, and I'll get the video link for this. The other one is on Facebook. So I basically had to download it, and then so I'll be able to share it here. Give me 1 second. All right.
So guys, that video, I sent that to Jeremy just because that's just a voice in one of these cathedrals. And you saw and felt how just, I don't even know how to describe it. Like the way that those places were made to just make music sound is, it's beyond what I can explain in words. But Jeremy's going to show this one, and this one is very informational, so please listen.
Yeah, and I think the link is, if you can share that, Miranda, that'd be awesome. But this one's from Facebook, so let me go ahead and play it here.
I think we're getting stupider. In this 500-year-old cathedral, on the ceiling is one of the craziest things that you will ever see. This is the Rosslyn Chapel. It's in Scotland. Some of the crispiest stonework you're ever going to see, but these are really the point of interest. You may recognize the upside-down spires from Hindu temples. That is because they're communicating the same thing across the world. The speaker cone design of the ceiling is reinforced by the waveform pillars that sits on. At the top of the pillars in Rosslyn, there are angels playing instruments. Now, as you follow the pillar up, you'll see the little nubs. Each one of those is a cube, and on each one of those cubes is a folded up cymatic pattern. As you go up the archway, those cubes form notes and chords. This was discovered by a Royal Air Force codebreaker, Thomas Mitchell. Him and his son decoded this, translated it into music, and recreated a 500-year-old song. We really don't see attention to detail like this any longer. That's because when the church was bankrolling these things, the alchemists and masons built them. But since very few people were educated, they spoke a language of sacred geometry. This way they could communicate in secret and use the building itself as the repository of their knowledge. We're still decoding these things.
We don't know the meaning of all the carvings. It's an interpretive view.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, we're looking at it from today.
Rosslyn was actually an inspiration for the Da Vinci Code and was used in the book and movie. Once you start learning about the techniques they used in the building too, it will blow your mind. They're genius. Just saying, we should bring those back.
Yes. Really interesting information there, and amazing presentation, Miranda. Very, very detailed. A lot of things to think about, a lot of things that blew my mind even, a lot of connections. And, this is going to go with next Shabbat's presentation, where I will be going over the cymatics, the sonoluminescence, connecting it all to the word of Yahuah through the scriptures.